How can we engage Malaysian youth to be more involved with palm oil and get attracted to this industry?
That is a problem which we are facing at the moment.
Hello, Datuk. Thank you for having us this morning and for taking your time off for this interview. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional experience.
Thank you. Thank you for having me in this program today. I just give you a brief description about myself and my 40 years long career in this industry. I'm 66 years old, supposed to be retired, but still working. I was born in Singapore. I have 8 siblings. Now I'm happily married with a beautiful wife, 3 children, 2 of them married, and 5.5 grandchildren. I started my career about 40 years ago, and this was unexpected. I earlier started working at the Rubber Research Institute, and I was waiting for my scholarship to study overseas. But in view of my parents' position, the need for me to support him, so I decided to take up an offer to work in the plantation, which happened to come at the same time before I received my scholarship. And it has been 40 years since then, and I've gone through the whole phase of being a greenhorn young planter to what I am today. And over the years, I've experienced a lot of new things, a lot of different locations being posted, given different responsibility, and I went undergo through a lot of trials and tribulations over the same period. But it was a good, happy 40 years for me.
What drives you to serve in the Malaysian oil palm industry?
Actually, it's by coincidence. When I was young, I used to have friends working as a planter, and I used to visit them. And I liked the lifestyle then, big houses, well-manicured gardens, and with all the amenities. And I was attracted to that. So that is the reason why I decided to join the plantation industry. And over the 40 years I've worked in the industry, I've served in many positions, from a cadet planter to what I am today. But before that, I was given a lot of duties and responsibilities, and I'm grateful that I've been given the positions which I aspired to have. And before I retired, I ended up working as the head of plantation for the biggest plantation company in the country.
What do you consider to be your greatest professional achievement?
Over the years, when I started my career, I went through a lot of phases in terms of career prospects. And from a young cadet planter, after that becoming a manager, becoming a GM, becoming a senior GM, and I retired as the head of plantation for Sime Darby. And that is a big projection in career. But my biggest satisfaction after my retirement, when I was given the honor by the Prime Minister of Malaysia to be the chairman of HELCRA. That is beyond my wildest dream, and I was so happy to receive that honor.
What are the 3 main challenges that Malaysian palm oil industry is facing right now, and how can they be overcome?
Actually, the industry is at a crossroad now. We have a lot of issues. After a century-old being in existence, we are now being plagued with many issues. So many issues that we have to focus only on a few big things which are important to us. And the 3 big issues we are facing now is actually our labor shortage situation, and then the taxation structure, and the negative perception facing the country. On the labor shortage, I think we are now at a breaking point in the industry today, because ever since the pandemic 1.5 years ago, we have not been allowed to recruit any guest worker. And unfortunately, we are very dependent on guest workers. So when you are not allowed to recruit, but people leave. And today we are so short of workers that we are losing about 20 to 30% of our potential production. That is something to worry about, because when your production are affected, so does your costs and so does your competitive edge with your neighboring countries. And the second one about taxation, do you know that this industry pays the highest tax in the world? Our tax is about 40% of our gross profit. So we have to pay corporate tax, we have to pay levies, we have to pay cess, beside the quit rent, beside the property assessment tax. So this is something which the industry can ill afford. So we are appealing to the government to take a look back at all the tax structure and be reasonable with the industry, especially on windfall tax, where we are the only industry in the country which is paying windfall tax. And we believe that while we agree that we are willing to pay, we want the government to review the threshold for the windfall tax. And the last one is, of course, the negative perception which we are faced with. People accuse us of deforestation, people accuse us of killing orang-utan, but the actual agenda is something which is different to that. So this is something which now we need government intervention, we need government assistance to help us maneuver around these issues. Of course, this is a big agenda by our competitors, but we need to address it holistically and we need to do it together with the government.
How would you propose we increase our CPO production in Malaysia, considering the government's announcement that oil palm plantation area will be capped at 6.5 million hectares?
Actually, I fully support that decision to cap the area, because anyway, we do not have much arable land anymore. Except for Sarawak, which is all on peat soil, we do not have other places to expand. So I am fully supportive that we do not expand anymore in terms of area. But what we should do is, the focus by a lot of the plantation sector is, we are looking at enhancing our yield over the same area. I think that is something which most of the plantation companies are focusing on, because we believe that we can reduce our costs, we can increase the quality of our production, and at the same time remain competitive. And what we are looking at clones, new clones, we are looking at genome materials which have tolerance to resistance to drought, to weather vagaries, and of course, most important thing, it can double the yields.
What is your favorite destination for a holiday and why?
I've been very fortunate throughout my career. Have been given the opportunity to travel throughout the world. With that travel, I got the bug of having traveling as part of my hobby, including cruising. While I've been to many parts of the world, I still have a lot of countries which are in my bucket list. Among them are something like the Trans-Siberian Railway, the Silk Route, which visit countries like Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan. So those are the things which actually I would like to look forward to when I retire.
How do you relax after work?
That is something which I do not have the privilege for a long time. But nowadays, I'm taking it a bit more easier. My family is the most important thing in my life. So being able to spend time with my wife, my children, my grandchildren, that is something which I look forward to, especially spending dinner on the same table with them. And beside that, I do a bit of golf, I do a bit of cycling, but I make time to at least go on holidays a few times a year with them.
How can we engage Malaysian youth to be more involved with palm oil and get attracted to this industry?
That is a problem which we are facing at the moment, because Malaysian youth tend to shun this industry. Even not talking about manual work, even talking about administrative role as planters, as managers, we do not get a lot of interest from Malaysians. But this pandemic is an eye-opener to us, all of us. Do you know that this is the only industry which does not terminate people, which does not cut salaries? In fact, we give bonus to our employee. This is something which is worth considering for them. And we are already 100 years old, and we plan to go for another 100 years. So this is something which the youth of today should look at.
What are some of the most important life lessons you have learned during your 4 decades long career?
Oh, I go through a lot of trials and tribulation. In fact, there are times when I even think about quitting working in this industry, because working in the plantation entails you a 20-7 responsibility, and you are expected to be on your knee, on your toe all the time. And facing workers is the biggest challenge, and that continues at all levels. But when you reach the senior management, then it is about your responsibility, about your bottom line. So this thing continues, and challenges will always be there as long as you are working. So, but what is important thing, you must have passion, you must love your job, then you will be able to survive.
What advice would you give to someone starting off on their professional careers in this time of uncertainty because of the COVID pandemic?
That's why I mentioned just now about the opportunities in the plantation sector, and saying that we are the only industry which you can still survive, you can still get a job, you can feed your family. And I told a lot of people that, you see, you should be thankful that you're working in this industry. So for young planters, young people who are looking for a job, you know, when I was young, when I was a young cadet planter, I used to advise people, see, and I give example. You know, I have a friend of mine who we worked together about 35 years ago up in the north. And during the free time, the evening, we used to sit down and we dream. We dream about what we want to be, and where we want to be. And today, both of us went beyond our dream. My ambition at that point of time was just to be a senior manager of a plantation. But look where I am. I ended up becoming the chairman of Alpha. So I think for the young planters, I want them to dare to dream. But you have to work hard all the way. And not only for this industry, for anybody. Even my children, I give them that advice. You need to work hard to fulfill your dreams.
What is the best way to achieve a healthy work-life balance?
You have to balance up in everything you do. You have to have good sleep. When you go back home, you have to eat in moderation. And most important thing, do not take your problem back home, because you will never resolve your problem. That is how I survived that's what I practiced throughout my career in the plantation.
So last but not least, what are the 3 qualities you look for when hiring someone for a position?
I think that's a very good question, and I think that's the most important question, because this is something which will tell you whether you have hired the right person. So the first thing, to me, the most important thing is about honesty, your integrity. These are the traits which I look at in a person. If you have that, then you'll be successful. But it's not easy to find whether a person is honest until you work with them.
That's all we have for now. Once again, thank you so much, Datuk Nageeb.
Most welcome. Thank you.